Welcome to Found Footage Friday. So, we're starting a new series. I think you can see where this is heading. And we're getting this up late,
Yep.
even though it should still drop on Friday. It's just going to be really late Friday for us. But
Yeah.
whatever. We got to get to it because we got to get it up. Hell House LLC. And done. We're done. That's it. What do you
Whoa.
guys think? Subscribe.
Bye.
Send us all your money.
That's all I can
Send us all your money. Okay. So, Hell House LLC. Now, we did not watch the director's cut because what we remember from the director's cut that we watched, the extra footage was after the credits,
Yeah. It's
and
like at
the
the
movie is
end.
almost exactly the same
Yeah.
otherwise. And I was
That's
like,
what we
that's the
remembered.
lamest director's cut of all time if that's true.
Yeah.
That isn't a director's cut. That's a theatrical cut with
With
deleted scenes after the movie.
yeah. I don't know. We just watched the theatrical cut. That's all we watched.
I think it's the only thing available. Unless the director's cut does have stuff put into it that I'm not remembering. But I remember I didn't watch it all with you. I was kind of in and out of the room on that stuff. But everything I saw was the same. So I don't know. And then we saw stuff after. It didn't matter. Let's move on from that because that's not what we're here to talk about, is it? Am I the only person who read the Abaddon Hotel as the abandoned hotel the first
No, it
time?
does look like abandoned. It does look like abandoned hotel.
Yeah.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here,
Yeah.
or ye who enter. I don't think the here is added.
Is Abaddon? No, I was thinking maybe it was like an anagram for abandoned, but I didn't put Abaddon. I just put
Oh
abandoned.
man.
That'd be cool if it was,
No,
but
there needs to be another N. I was like,
something's missing. Yeah.
yeah.
So there is no abandoned Abaddon. There is no Abaddon hotel, but this hotel obviously does exist. It is not in New York. It is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So if we ever get our way up there, I would definitely love to see the abandoned hotel.
I would too. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the northeast that I'd like to visit.
Sure.
So maybe
Yeah.
maybe someday.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one that we definitely both are big fans of. This is a really great found footage film. The sequels, I'm not a big fan of, but I am very curious to revisit them and talk about them in more of a spoiler discussion.
Yeah, me too.
To try to connect the links and whatnot and see. But this first one is definitely a home run.
Yeah.
And the next two, and the reason that we're doing this is because the new one is supposed to be coming out at some point. I think
Yeah.
that's the Abaddon tapes.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what it's called. I think that was originally pitched or is like a TV series or something,
I
and
don't
that there
know.
was supposed to be another Hell House movie. I don't know. I'd have to look more into that,
Mm.
but whatever it is, we are getting further content in this franchise, and I'm always going to look forward to another one. I just hope that one day we can get closer to the heights of this first one. The second and third one, I do remember kind of being very redundant, just trying to ape off of this film a little too much, just kind of repetitive and frankly redundant. So, but as I said, I do want to revisit. So,
Yeah.
how was this on your third watch now, fourth
I
watch?
still love it. I think it's
Yeah.
really a wonderful found footage film. I think it has like the perfect setup and location for found footage. Obviously, a haunted house is, just a cool place to have a horror movie in general. And the fact that they have like a guy that's filming stuff for them to watch, like for future haunts, so that they can see what they did wrong, and then they have the cameras up because it's a scare house, so they need to have that already. Like it just makes sense, as far as like why are they filming. So I think all of that really works, and I think all of the scares in this work really well too. Obviously, the clown is probably my favorite one. I think it's the best one. it's set up so perfectly where it's like the mannequin can't move its head or whatever, and then obviously it turns its head and you're like, that's no fucking mannequin. But yeah, and I like the dynamic and chemistry between everybody. They feel very much like a believable friend group. Like all of the bantering and bickering that they do, and kind of like like they get along, but they have little parts that are sore spots of the friendship. So all that I think works really well, and the over like arching news crew that's exploring it. I like the interviews that are done by everybody; those feel authentic, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a really cool found footage film.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the camaraderie between the friend group is definitely very realistic. I think the budget probably hinders the effect of like the news crew, because that doesn't feel like an actual news crew, right? They'd have a better production value. They'd have more money. Even it could be local news though,
It felt
and,
like local
local
news to
news
me.
could have a really low production quality to them. So I'll give it that, I guess, if I really want to fudge it for that. But I'm not knocking it. That just doesn't feel as realistic to me. But the friend group, which is the meat and potatoes of this movie, it's the majority, it's the lion's share of screen time is the friend. So that's what you want to work. The TV stuff is secondary. So
Yeah.
if you're going to have one be the weaker or the less realistic, but I think that's pretty common, I would say, in smaller budgeted found footage films. The newscaster segments in all of those feel very fake to me. They always just have like some, very mediocre actor kind of standing in front of a green screen and like trying to pretend that they're like a newscaster. And there's a certain cadence
Yeah, it's a very specific
that they
cadence.
have, and these people just don't nail it right, and the production value never looks right. It's always like that's not how they do it. So that always does take me out of those films, the lower budgeted ones, versus of course the higher budgeted ones. It feels like an actual news crew, but that's just unfair.
But this one though, they don't really do any kind of they're
No.
not really reporting. It's all they're just trying to get the story. So that's why I think it works better in this one, because we don't see them like. I think we hear her
We do
talking a bit, but that works fine because it's with footage overlaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like also, like I was saying, the scares I think are set up really well.
Absolutely.
The fact that the house is like this portal to hell, and it's sort of stuck in this weird time warp loop thing where they have a room set up and it switches back to like the kitchen scene from the previous owner, like that kind of stuff I really love, and I think it's done very cleverly. And I think maybe the biggest like criticism I have, which I noticed more on this watch, is that it is a bit difficult to buy that the people would stay there as
Yes.
long as they did.
Yes.
Like when the stuff starts happening and it is clearly paranormal,
Yes.
it's clearly supernatural.
Yeah.
It's not them playing fucking like pranks on each other.
Yeah.
I do not understand why they stick around, and I don't know what it is that's told to I don't know their names, of course, but one of the guys is like, I'm leaving, like, no, this isn't okay.
This is a conversation between Tony and McNamara, and they're referring to Alex.
Yes, they're talking about Alex.
I think this is in reference to something that they reveal later on, but I think that it's that, like, if I remember correctly, because they don't reveal it in this film, but I do think they reveal it in part 3 maybe or something. But like, God, I only saw those movies once, so. But I was looking for it here because I was like, is that revealed here? And then I don't remember them revealing it in this one.
Yeah.
But I think it's like he sunk all of his money into
That's what
this.
I thought.
And
That's
it's
what
like
I thought.
he's belly up if this doesn't work. And it's like, if we don't get this off the ground, they're fucked.
That's what I thought. I thought it was a money thing, and it's like it sort of applies to them too, because it's like they don't get paid. All of their money that they've invested in this is also
Can't spend
gone.
money when you're dead.
But Yeah, but I don't care though. I don't think that would be a good enough reason to stick around. Like when you know stuff is very not normal and evil, I just don't think that that's worth it. But there's also some influence going on too. I'll give it that. I think that there is a bit of, I mean, definitely, obviously, a lot with Alex. He's definitely being influenced, but I do wonder if maybe the other people that are there, like after they've entered the house and they've been there a while, like if there isn't some effect that it's having on them, kind of making them stay a little bit more than they would.
Yeah. This is a trope in a lot of haunted horror movies, ghosts or hauntings or whatever. Money is commonly used as a reason, right? And it's something we can all relate to. Not people don't want to throw their investments away. People understand what it's like to be broke, and it's like we don't have the means to leave, right? So that's something that's like really used. You know, you've got like Amityville Horror or any of these movies where they buy the new house and they're like, we put every cent we have. If
Yeah.
we leave it all behind. And people definitely would need very concrete proof
Yeah.
of like my life's in danger and this is not something that can be solved by law enforcement or anything else. Like I'm screwed if I stayed here. That's when you have to be like, I don't care about my investment. I can't spend money when I'm dead. Right. So you do have to kind of get to that place where it does. But in this one, there's definitely enough
Yes.
here for them to leave pretty early on.
Yeah.
But I was telling you while we were watching it, one of the really complicated things about horror in regards to especially the haunted house variety is that you do have this very hard juggling act of keeping your audience on their toes,
Mm.
providing enough scares if that's the kind of film you're trying to make, while also trying to come up with valid enough reasons for us as an audience to believe that they wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
really, really
hard. It's hard.
complicated thing to do because
Yeah.
people will get bored
Yes.
if not enough happens soon enough.
Yeah.
And then if it happens, then they're like, why wouldn't they just leave? So
Right.
it's that is such a complicated juggling act. That's why in every screenplay I've ever written, I always make it to where it's my cop out, I guess, my writing cop out, but it's always I put people in impossible situations to get out of. I don't allow that kind of story to exist in the maybe 10 or so scripts that I've ever written. It's always that, it takes place over a very short amount of time, right? It's not over days or weeks, it's over a couple hours. So it's like in that time, you're not really even gonna have that ability to leave quite yet because it's just still happening, it's transpiring, or it's a predicament in which they're trapped
Right.
and there's nothing they can
Yeah.
do. And even though they're like, yeah, I want to leave, I will leave, but they
Right.
can't get out of the situation.
It's kind of a nitpicky criticism because I mean, I understand that it's a complicated thing to take into account, but like I obviously, like you said, like I'm thinking of like the Blair Witch, where they are trying to escape the woods,
Sure.
but they cannot, and it's
Right.
again being trapped or being forced or something. And that's obviously not the case with this film, where they do spend extended time there, and it's not really until the last day that they get trapped, so to speak. But it's fine. Like it doesn't super bother me that that they stick around, because I do also think that some part of them maybe believes that they are letting their minds play tricks on them in some ways, like because they're in the haunted house environment and they're already creeped out, like from the very beginning when they go in, because of all the satanic like scribblings on the
Sure.
wall. They're already in a headspace where they're just like, this is a creepier location than we've ever been in.
Yeah,
So
they're susceptible
yeah.
to it. I think one of the ways you could handle this, if I was to be consulted on the script, this will be a rare moment, so listen up. I am almost never going to advocate for this because it's one of my least favorite things in horror, but it actually would help this film in that regard. So I don't like fake out scares. I don't like friends who are in, dire need of help or whatever, and then it's revealed they were pretending to drown, like in Friday the 13th or whatever. That kind of stuff has always irked me. But if you did front load the film with a couple pranks from the friend group, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say Paul or Tony or whoever did a few pranks on Alex and Sarah and McNamara, you then have this plausible deniability of like, whatever, it's probably just Paul again, right? So you kind of have that built-in brush it off kind of notion of like, whatever, he pranks us on every haunt,
sure,
right? And then even tell a story like, remember the last place we were at, he convinced us for like 2 days that this was happening,
right?
And then so they just kind of like, I don't know, man. And it's like, he's just getting better. He's getting more creative. Like, we just got to get through this. We're psyching ourselves out. This place is really scary. And hey, that's a testament to how good of a job we've done.
Right.
Now we're psyching ourselves out with our own stuff that we know is fake. That means it's going to kill for business. I would shorten the deadline so they're there a shorter amount of time. Let's make it like session 9 where he takes on the job and he's like, we got to get this done in a week. And they're like, you can't do it in a week. And he's like, I can get it done. And you can shorten the timeline, have a lot of the scares take place. Like, I think, and I know this is for pacing, but I think just from a story standpoint, so it does make sense of like why they wouldn't leave what I said, plus the stuff with Paul, seeing someone walk into his room, the girl that's in his room, and then McNamara and Tony walking around and they're seeing like maybe the guy in the hallway, and then like all that stuff. If you could have that all take place on like the same night, right? Condense it all to like the same night, and then they're kind of pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you fucking did it. No, you did it. Like,
sure.
What is this? Isn't
More
funny,
chaos.
dude. I'm in my room. Like, we said rooms are off limits. You can do that kind of stuff. And so it becomes more believable, because I am with you 100%. That's the feeling I get the whole movie from like 25 minutes in, maybe 35 minutes in. I'm already at the place where half these people would be gone.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it doesn't bother me a ton, but I think it's the biggest weakness in the film. You just have to accept it. Yeah. But it's like, with really, really amazing found footage, it's like all of that is already explained or just taken care of. So, like, why they're filming all the time, why they wouldn't leave the situation, both of those things. When you have, like, the Blair Witch, like, those are, already kind of given to you, those answers. And it just helps. It helps with the immersion because, with found footage, like, we just did As Above, So Below.
Yeah.
And for me, I was saying that one it's like a blockbuster found footage. Like, It doesn't really feel like found footage. But my goal when I'm watching these films is I want it to feel real. Even though I know it's fake, like, I want it to be as real as possible so that I am, like, questioning, like, something like Savage Land, where I'm like, that's 100% real. Yeah. And this one doesn't get there for me. But I really like all the other aspects of the film.
Yeah, the believability of the movie is questionable because of those elements. That said, this is still top tier found footage.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
In, like, the indie found footage circle, because there's like two different kinds of found footage. There's studio found footage, like The Visit, the later Paranormal Activity movies, the ones that big studio takes them over and they have a big budget, Cloverfield, right? Like, those kinds of movies are like the bigger budgeted studio. Then you have the indie stuff. You've got this, and you've got Savage Land, you've got Godforsaken, you've got, the Blackwell Vampire, you've got, we've covered tons and tons of them on here that I adore. Plenty of others that I didn't mention that I love. But if I was to make two separate lists, like top 10 best studio found footage films and top 10 best indie found footage films, this is definitely in the top 10 indies.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? I don't know if it would make a mashup list if I had to do both together, like just found footage films ever in general.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't make my top 10, but it would probably make it would probably easily make my top 20 because I just said it would make the top 10 of this and that, so it'd have to be somewhere in the top 20.
Yeah. It's
really damn
really,
good.
really good.
Although I guess that's not true because that doesn't equate. Maybe 10 films here plus 5 other films are better than these other ones over here. I don't think that's the case. I'm just playing devil's advocate against myself there. Anyway, sorry.
I really want the hoodie, the Hell House hoodie. I've looked for it online that what's your face is wearing, but
Sarah?
Yeah, the one that Sarah wears, but I swear in the movie it's like a heather gray color, and they sell it like in pure white online.
Oh, you
and
want
I
it to be
don't
like
want it to be
screen
white.
accurate.
Yeah, I really want it, but maybe my eyes are wrong with how it looks on the screen. But I always think it looks like a heather gray, like it doesn't look like it's pure white.
What's a heather gray?
Like, maybe this isn't heather gray, but it's like the gray that has like the darker parts in it too. Like it's like a lighter gray, and then there's like some dark like
that's called a heather
striations or
gray.
Something. I don't know.
I didn't know that was a term.
I've always called it
Heather
heather gray, but heather gray might just be the shade itself.
I prefer Sasha Grey.
Heather Gray is.
She's a porn star.
What?
That was the joke.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. See. They blend
Heather-
different colored fibers into one yarn.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a mixture of different. So that's more what it looks like in the film.
You want to Google Sasha Grey?
No.
Okay. So we've got music. So that's a thing, right? Because there's a lot of people who we frequent the found footage group on Facebook. And there is quite a back and forth in the found footage fan group of like, do you put music in found footage or not? So I'm of the mind that you put music in mockumentaries,
yeah.
and you don't put it in found footage. So even though this is a mockumentary about found footage, so it technically is a mashup, it's still a mockumentary. Mm-hmm. So some found footage films are just the raw footage from beginning to end. Mockumentaries obviously are taking the found footage and it's the aftermath of finding the found footage and us getting the news report like it's a documentary on the footage that's been found versus just some raw cut of the footage that's been compiled together by God knows who and sent to us by God knows who. Like The Den or something like that, where you're like, or the Unfriended or something,
sure.
Where you're watching it and you're like, how did I get this?
Yeah.
And how, at least with Unfriended, it is all in one take.
Yeah.
Right? So that doesn't have to be edited, but other movies, of course, come to mind where you're watching it just as a rough cut that you get. But with a mockumentary, because it is a documentary in that world, they're going to add music. And so music makes sense. And music feels like it fits in the film.
Yeah.
And I will say, okay, this is something that I think Hell House LLC, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I will say that Hell House LLC has the best memorable theme music in found footage.
Yeah.
The bum 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 bum. Yeah. That song that he plays on the piano for a second, right? That Paul plays and then it plays, the ghosts play it later. That's iconic.
It's super iconic.
And that's
I love it.
Unique to found footage because we don't get music in it almost ever. And what iconic scores can you think of from a found footage film? There's like none. And now this isn't a score, but it is a little ditty, a little tune, right? That is very memorable for found footage.
It is.
So that's rare, and then this film's got that.
I really like that. I think it is, as you said, very memorable, and very unique.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And I'm fine with the music being in here because it's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
If they tried to put music over like Unfriended, no.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
Not at all.
But the music that is in Unfriended is diegetic
Yeah.
because the main character puts it on to listen to on her laptop.
Right.
So that works and that counts, right? Or if someone like brings a boombox with them or like something like that.
In the movie, like the characters are doing it.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. But if it's like playing over the footage,
yeah.
then it's not fine.
the raw footage having music on it is a no-no.
It's a big no-no.
It's a no-no for sure. But a mockumentary or a diegetic music inside the film works as well. Sarah thinking that Will Smith is in Escape from New York is offensive. And how old would Will Smith have been when in 1981? He had, I mean, he can't be that much. I mean, what is he, 10 years older than me at best? So he's probably like 9 when that movie came out. I don't even, she doesn't even know what Escape from New York is. She does not. That was cute though.
Yeah.
And, okay, so they do sort of address the fact, because at first I thought they just stayed there from night 1. But I think they outright say they like cleaned it up enough to stay there after like a few days.
Yeah,
which I was like,
Sarah
okay, thank you.
In her like interview that they had to get the lighting, like the electricity working.
Dude, they needed to do more than that to stay there.
So yeah, they clean it up before they stay.
Because there is like vermin that would be running around there that literally could like infect you.
Yeah, I feel like realistically they probably would not be allowed to stay there because
in a derelict house like that, it's just bad for your health. Like, that's just ill-advised.
I was meaning like even if they're renting out the location, like it's in the same way that you can't like stay at like your place of business because it's not made to be like for housing, like it's not residential.
It's a hotel though.
So yeah, but it's also abandoned and derelict, as you said. So
if you rent out a hotel, I would think you could stay there. Who's to tell you the cleanliness level of the place that you can stay in? Right?
It is dangerous.
They rented a hotel. I say they could stay there.
But maybe they cleaned it out more than.
But we see what they did. Right? And do you feel like you would stay there in the condition that it's in when they're staying there?
I don't know.
With just a mattress on the floor in all the rooms?
I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
Not.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say you would not. Young me would have. Now? No. No. Now that I'm older and wiser.
A mattress on the floor sounds
I'm not staying in some fucking like house on Niebolt Street.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't need to see no werewolf.
Yeah. Not scary at all. The flashing light in the hallway stuff, that stuff right there, because, there's a lot of found footage movies about haunts, right? Or horror movies in general about haunts. Haunts became really big for a subgenre of horror for like a couple years. You got like 3 different Fest movies in one year that were all about these kinds of things, right? Whether it was Hellfest or American Fright Fest and some other fest, something fest, I forget. And then you got the Hell House movies. You've got the Haunt.
Yeah, the House is October Built.
The House is October Built 1 and 2. There was just a plethora of them in a very short amount of time. But, and so I've been in quite a few haunts. They don't really do a lot for me personally. I don't really find them all that interesting. That being said, fucking Last of Us.
Halloween Horror Nights,
I don't care. I got to see that.
Yeah.
It's The Last of Us. Anything The Last of Us. To be actually in The Last of Us in any capacity, I got to be there. So that one, is different. And, we went last year and we saw Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which obviously is a movie Kaylee and I love.
And
we saw Halloween, which is my favorite film ever made.
That one was awesome.
but those are just, they're so repetitive and lame to me. This one actually is kind of scary because this one to me, and the reason it's an LLC, this limited liability corporation, is because, or company, sorry, is because they need limited liability. Like this is dangerous. And what they're doing, so they're very irresponsible, right? Not only is this place not up to code, and I feel like we are kind of dismissing the fact that, like, I think someone would need to come and approve this for it to be business worthy.
That's what I was meaning about them even being able to sleep there. Like, I feel like, okay, like they rent out this place that's been abandoned and is like going to be torn down or something, right? They would need to have people come in and be like, okay, the water works, the electricity works, like it's habitable, first of all, if you're going to plan on staying here. Or even if they don't say that, like they don't tell them that they're staying there. Like the fact that they're going to have the public in.
Did they mention that people have to sign a waiver to get in? Because if people sign a waiver, I think they might be able to get around it. Places like that, I think, usually are like, hey, sign a waiver.
For some reason, I think that they have the scare actors sign waivers, though.
So if they do have them sign waivers, I'm okay with that. I think that is a good enough excuse, but it's still irresponsible because this house is definitely not okay to bring people through in droves like that, because not only did they encounter some really scary stuff that is unexplainable, but also the house is not in condition enough for people to come through there. Like the fact that this house probably has like black mold in it, stuff like that. Like you can't be bringing people asbestos, lead paint.
Oh my god!
I mean, there's all sorts of things that it's like you can't just be bringing the public, the general public, around in there. There could be freaking rusty nails sticking out, giving people tetanus and all sorts of, like.
Of course.
Bro, no. This is so dangerous. It is not a good idea. I guess if they signed a waiver, fine, but this is so irresponsible.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very irresponsible.
And to bring him down into that basement.
I know.
Well, especially because so
like the amount of people that they let in too.
Sure.
And they're not banking on like demonic shit happening, of course. But it's like, even if you didn't think about the paranormal stuff, if there's a fire, if there's some other emergency, like the way that it gets so congested in that stairwell, like it's a fire hazard. Like, so
as soon as their cameras started kind of getting screwed up, they needed to stop everything.
I mean, they needed to limit the amount of people that they had in there. It should have been like 5 people at a time or something. But obviously they're not going for that. They're trying to get as many people in and out as possible because they're trying to make a bunch of money.
Of course. This, so. And I'm not saying this isn't possible. I absolutely think people would do this. Yes. I just think it's irresponsible is all I'm saying. So that's not an unbelievable thing. That's just an irresponsible thing. That's just me talking as a father and thinking of like my kids walking through there and getting hurt and being like, you guys are dead now. You think the Abaddon Hotel ghosts are scary? Wait till dad comes for you. Because I am way scarier.
Way scarier.
And of course, you got to always have the horny, funny guy who wants to bang Melissa, who shows up. Joey totally does Melissa wrong. He's her bodyguard. And is the first sign of anything, that dude bails on her so fast and just leaves her tied up. He couldn't have went over there and let her down.
I know. The fact that like nobody lets her down.
I think they just think it's part of it. But once they start to freak out and run.
But she's like, this isn't a part of the show.
She's too hot for people to ignore.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. I'm saying that at least a few guys are having hero complexes just to save the hot chick. Right? Just because they're like, I don't care. I'll risk dying to get laid. I'm telling you right now. Guys have this like natural instinct to want to help the damsel in distress. And I think that at least a dude or two would have been all over her to get her out of there.
Probably.
So, but I don't know. I mean, when people panic, you know, they don't give a shit about anything at that point. I just think that Melissa probably would have got pulled down. Although it is dark in there, you can't really see how attractive she is. So when you get scared, I guess you just run away. But Paul is pretty funny in this.
Yeah.
I do like his character. He does feel like that guy
Yeah.
that they're going for. Alex and Sarah have a good, like, believable relationship that is slightly rocky, but
Yeah.
like they're sticking it out because they're business partners. Um, and then Tony and McNamara, they're good as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really good cast
Mm-hmm.
of the mains. The clowns are definitely iconic.
Yes.
The guy that, so the flashing room I was
Yeah.
alluding to earlier, because I have issues with that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that would be a really hard room for me to walk through, even if it wasn't scary or a haunt or something with flashing lights like
Yeah.
that. Strobe lights, I will, not because I'm epileptic or anything, but because I have an inner ear issue. So I have balancing issues.
I
And
hate
walking
strobe
through stuff
lights.
like that, oh my God, it would screw me up. But we don't get enough focus on the thing that we see in the flashing room.
He's
That guy's
scary.
scary.
He's really
Does he
scary.
appear again?
I don't know. I don't think he does, but
He's
yeah,
scary.
he's really scary. The prosthetics or like the mask or whatever on that person is very unsettling and very disturbing looking.
Yeah.
I really hate strobe lights too. I always get like very dizzy and nauseous. I'm not epileptic, but I'm always like, I'm gonna have a seizure. I always think it's gonna make me have, like, I just didn't know I was epileptic, and then all of a sudden I'll know.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great sequence. That's like another example of like the scares done really well in this. You know, especially like Paul's reaction going through it, being like, how many did we have? And then trying to get out and just like banging on the wall or on the door, like, let me out.
That scene, unfortunately, though, is one of those scenes. I think that might be the first scene where I'm like, they're not staying.
Well,
Or they're
yeah.
calling the
Yeah.
police
I
because
mean,
they cannot figure out who that guy was in the house.
right.
And there's no way, dude. If you can't account
Yeah.
for who's in your domicile, there's no fucking way
Yeah.
you're going to continue all just like happy go lucky. Let's put this place together. Like, you need to know who is just in your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
People died here. Like, this is scary.
Yeah.
There's a dude in a mask who just showed up, and I can't account for who that is.
Yeah.
I need to know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm not even caring if people are like, haha, we got him. He got scared. Fine. You got me. But I need to know who that is.
Sure.
Especially if I'm like Alex and I got you, Sarah, with me. Then especially. But even my friends and myself.
Sure.
I value my life, and I value my friend's life, and I value her life, and I value everyone's life. So like when I see that they go back through the footage and they're like, what's this? And it's like, bro, who's that? You need to know before you can proceed. So those are those things where I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That doesn't seem believable to me.
It's questionable.
But that's why I said, if you have that in place to where Paul has pulled that kind of shit before.
And they think that, and he thinks that they're just getting back at him or whatever. Yeah, I agree. That's a better way to set up the, like, why they would stay. You
got Sarah, who is definitely mentally compromised in this.
She's like compromised early on.
Yeah.
Like very early on. And shit. I don't remember what's explained about it like in the later films.
Yeah.
Because obviously Alex is like corrupted from the beginning. Right? Like the whole reason he goes there. Like
we're gonna remember.
He's corrupted.
I remember that somewhat.
But yeah. I don't remember like how, like what happens with her. Like if there's any explanation why she gets like turned early on. But
I think they reveal that statue is like tied to someone or something from before. It's I've only seen the sequels once.
Yeah, it'll be good to rewatch them. But it's creepy. She does a great job.
Yeah. And let's see. Yeah, no way McNamara, Tony, and Sarah are staying after what they experience. This 100%. There's just no way. But I'll stop harping on that. We've said it enough. Paul's sign off, sleep sweet.
Yeah. When we watched this like the first time together, I think we were saying that to each other for a while.
Sleep Sweet,
Yeah, because we thought it was really funny.
I thought it was Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey.
Nope,
No, not that.
not
Okay.
that one.
The scene with the chick in Paul's room.
That's another one of the scarier scenes
Yeah.
of this film.
At least he's taken out after that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
There's no
like
he would have left.
Oh my god, yeah, no. But like just all of that setup, like her sitting there, his reaction, and then hiding under the covers, and then like when he looks at her and she's looking at him.
Yeah.
No, dude, awful. That's the kind of stuff like I don't care, but that like brings you back to being a child instantly. When you were afraid of something in your room and you hid under the covers because it's the logic of like if I can't see them, they can't see me. And it just does not work.
No, they know exactly
they
where
know
you're
where
at.
you are.
Yeah.
But
it actually puts you at a disadvantage
it
because
does.
you've taken your eyes off the killer.
It does.
Or the threat.
Yeah. But you know, it's just
it's illogic because you're scared.
You're scared.
Yeah.
And that is a really terrifying scene. I love that scene.
Sure. Fear is irrational, right? You don't think rationally while afraid. But he, as you said, he kind of regresses back to his childhood inclination of like, I'm just gonna disappear and maybe I'll just wake up.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
He thinks he's dreaming.
Sure. I mean, a lot of people would.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
your brain would just be like, there's no way this is real.
After I kicked her face in, I would be like, am I dreaming? I always think about how hard it would be to do security in a haunted house because everyone is screaming.
Right.
And it's like, how do you know what scream is real?
I mean, they're probably watching for like specific scenarios and body language and that kind of stuff.
But people overreact. I mean, have you ever seen people freak out in haunted houses? They really freak out.
But they're looking for people that are like attacking somebody or like somebody who's like fainting and passing out or vomiting or like, those kinds of things more, or like somebody that has a weapon or is trying to smoke or like,
So when the reporter goes to the front desk of the hotel and asks what room Sarah's staying in, this is total nonsense. People will not tell you what room people are staying in. This is not something that it's literally against hotel policy. You're not allowed to tell people.
Well, she said she was in room like 2C or whatever, and she's like, we don't even
have a room.
And she like went to go look.
But she went to look,
person.
and it's like there's no way she would have went to look. She
not
would have been
at all.
like, that we can't do that.
No.
All they can do is call the room without telling you what room it is and say, hey, we got this person down here
that's asking for you.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and they can't even confirm you're staying there.
Yeah.
You can just say, can you connect me with this person? And then they'll look it up and they'll call, which I think is technically confirmation that they're there, but you don't know what room they're in.
Right.
But you have to know their name specifically. You can't just be like, oh, you remember that cute blonde that was just in here?
Oh my God.
Can you just give me her room number?
Yeah, that's scary.
If they know your name, I mean, I don't know. That's tough because stalkers, of course, would know your name.
Oh, sure.
But they can't tell you the room. Paul kills Sarah and then himself. We get that reveal.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I don't know. Do you think the Sarah stuff is obvious when she's being interviewed, like towards the end, that she's dead?
No.
Why is she the only ghost that seems to be able to leave the Abaddon and go and like be seen like that, like full on as a normal human with no injuries or anything?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I don't think it's obvious. I didn't think it was. I don't think the twist is obvious.
I think it's not obvious because it doesn't apply to the rules set up here that ghosts can't just walk out of the Abaddon
because it's like
go do interviews.
She's like a demon. It's not just that she's a ghost. It's like she's been corrupted, and it's like the demonic forces are trying to get more. It's kind of like The Shining. Like it's like the Overlook. Like it's trying to get people to come back to it or to come to it so that it can feed.
Right, but nobody leaves.
No, I know nobody leaves the Overlook, but like there's like influences though where it's like calling to Jack, and it like kind of like
once
Danny even has like premonitions about it and stuff. So there's.
But that's because he's linked to his father, who's there.
I know, but yeah, I always thought that the Overlook kind of had a way of drawing people to it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the same thing for the Abaddon. I think that but why Sarah can like physically manifest and go out and like not look dead, not have any wounds or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that's explained later, but
yeah,
it's fine.
Who are the two guys in the room with Sarah at the end who are going to kill the reporter and their cameraman?
I don't know. They have to
They're
be
just demons or something, or do you think that's
Are they
like
hooded?
Tony? Yes,
They might be. It might be. Yeah.
I don't know.
We see other hooded guys though, like the satanic priests or whatever, the cult.
We talked about that a whole lot. That was a really long review.
Yeah.
But there you go. Hell House LLC. What do you guys think of the movie? Any more things to say about it?
Nope.
Next week we will be covering part 3. Just kidding.
Part 2.
We'll go in order. Fine. Could you imagine if we did that?
Out of order?
If we did like part 3 first, and 7 and 2 of
people
some
would
series.
Be so annoyed.
That would be.
Like,
I would be annoyed.
Be like,
I couldn't.
We just watched part 7. I wonder why this happens. Maybe we'll find out when we watch part 1.
Dude, do you imagine like first viewing?
We should do some series like that. See how well we can piece it together. Something that you've never seen before.
Oh yeah, because there's so many horror series I haven't seen.
Watch it out of order. Saw. Forget everything.
Just forget everything I know about the franchise. Made like actual franchises in horror that I haven't seen, like every fucking film in. That is a very short list. Subspecies is one.
Okay.
The subspecies movies, which I was actually thinking about doing for Monster Monday as the next like Monster Monday franchise viewing, because I don't think I've ever seen a subspecies, and they just made part 5, and I was like, this is a really good excuse to watch all of them.
Yeah.
So that's one. Okay. Witchcraft, which they've made 16 of. I've never seen one, but they're like 13. Softcore porn. So yeah, we'll start on 13.
Then we'll do 7.
We'll make our way to 5. 10. I don't think they have enough to do with each other that it's going to matter, probably. But you never know. So anyways, that's that. And we got to get this up before Friday ends.
Yep.
Wake me up. All right. Adios.
Bye.